Hi, so on with the account of my experience of aortic stenosis and dealing with it, really. So phase one was the long-term realization and discovery of the gravity of the condition, which is when you have a bicuspid or inherited condition, which you realize you have. And you may realize that either because the doctor tells you, you may realize that because a combination of the doctor telling you and realizing, for example, that your grandma had that condition and expired as a result of it. My dad's mum, my paternal grandma, did have an aneurysm, what they call an aneurysm. So this is, you can Google it, but for a better account, but the expansion and breakage of major blood vessel. It can happen in various blood vessels, and it can be addressed if it's known about. In the 1970s, when hers took place, there was no chance, and with an aortic as in the aorta, the oxygenated blood delivering tube coming out of the heart on the left side. When that one breaks, it's actually akin, I would say, to something like the death of John Hurt on Alien #1. Alien, the film, #1. In space, nobody can hear you scream, because on the breakage of the aorta, the blood floods the chest, it hemorrhages into the chest cavity, and it's not a nice ending. And I can only hope that my grandma went unconscious pretty quickly in those days, 45 years ago. But there must have been no other end of people also just suffering from this. If you imagine having a hemorrhaging heart, which chest, which bulges because it's full of blood, which should be going around the body, but is actually, including the brain, of course, and keeping you awake and conscious, and instead it's being pumped into your chest cavity and turning into a bit of a sort of, pigeon which puffs its chest up. But really seriously, it's not a nice condition, I would think, and not a nice way to go. So if you can pick this stuff up early on, like so many conditions, cancer and everything, obviously, so many different conditions, but this one as well, clearly it's a really, really positive thing. And I have to count my blessings, really, that mine has been picked up, and it's not been picked up too late, and that I eventually was inspired or whatever forced really by symptoms of palpitations, flutterings, from, for example, undergoing stress, or the beginning particularly of exercise, a simple walk up an incline, and suffering those symptoms, addressing those finally, and getting the medical side of life, in other words, the hospitals, the doctors, the hospitals, onto an investigation of what the heck is going on. This has been really very, very, very important in saving my life, quite frankly. And I'm sure there are many people whose life is also saved. And there'll be many whose life it did not save because they didn't manage to do it in time, or they didn't know about it, or they ignored symptoms. For example, if anyone ever told me I have a heart murmur, I would immediately launch into a discussion of what my understanding of this heart murmur thing is, because for me, heart murmur was never such a dramatic thing. Just a misunderstood thing, really. So yeah, but in the age of Google and searches and AI and all the information we have available, YouTube, there's really fantastic opportunities to self-educate, to work out what may be going on, and hopefully get down to the doctors and just start the process. So, and I just checked on the records, my own records, and it seems that I contacted the general practitioner, the GP doctor, in January 2023. It's now it's now October 2024. So it's nigh on 2 years since I brought it to the attention of a GP that I had fluttering, and the various processes and tests that you undergo have taken place between then and now. One of the notable ones was the angiogram that I had in Scarborough in April of 2024. So that is where they insert into the artery on the wrist a rod, and they whack it round to the heart, and they put a camera on the outside. You're conscious, doesn't hurt particularly at all, and they take lots of photographs and they make confirmations of the condition of the arteries. In fact, that told me my arteries were in really good condition, generally speaking. A little bit of calcification, but not much for my age, and that's really reassuring. Just the valve was my thing, really, and the tube, the aorta tube above it, leading from the valve. They suspected in the tests that the other problem would be the aortic root, which is what the valve sits on. When you remove a valve, they replace the valve onto the aortic root. And also, there are other bits of the aorta and other bits of the heart. There's the other valve, the mitral valve, which they also investigate. So, but with me, it turned out to be two items that were needing replacement, which was the valve and the what they call the ascending aorta, which is the tube that the aortic valve squirts the blood into, which then passes up to the brain, round the neck, and round the rest of the body, supplies the body with oxygenated blood.